take the cover off. Got 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 ace heads. And on the side you have a fuel pump. Right here, it's got 2 very small bolts. Those got to come off too. Theoretically, it should come right off, as long as you have all the bolts on. Of course they're greasy, but that's all right. There's grounding wire for the ignition cutoff. Okay, now this runs on a magneto, so it's got the magnet, and it will tend to hang you up a bit. So let's look inside here. Here's a connector. There's a slide-on connector. Reach in there with a little pair of pliers, pull it down. I'm going to do that, but I need 2 hands. And there's the on-off switch. We just pulled the line off. Here's a pull starter. Here's our flywheel with no teeth. So we're going to have to pull off the flywheel. Here's our flywheel. This is a tiny wire brush, cleaning out the threads of the puller holes. And I'll spray a little WD in there. You cannot get this off without a gear puller. Gear pullers are pretty cheap, so go over to Harbor Freight or your local Ace Hardware or wherever, you know. Auto stores have them too. We're going to shoot a little lubricant in here, mount the puller, pull this. A couple of washers won't hurt. Not at all. Let me tell you how this is going to work. These thin bolts that we're screwing into the flywheel are going to grip the flywheel, essentially becoming part of it. You want to make sure you screw them in deep enough, otherwise you'll wind up jerking the threads out of the flywheel. Then you'll have all kinds of fun trying to get a puller in there. So this gear puller, as I screw it in, is going to press on the center shaft of the motor, the engine, excuse me. Motors are electric, engines are fuel. So we're going to run this in. This is going to push right on that shaft, and there's actually, I want to show you, there's a point here, and there's a little divot. See that divot in the shaft? So that you can use a puller and not damage it. You give it a little lubrication there so you don't tear anything up. There goes nothing. With one hand you screw this in, the other hand hold on to your puller so that your flywheel does not turn. Good luck with that, right? So here we'll jam our flywheel. Jam the flywheel. Oops. There we go. moving just a tiny bit. Small hammer. Don't hit a flywheel on the magnet. That's bad. There we go. And she's off. And yes, they pop off like that very often. So here we have the shaft. That rust, so it was keeping it on. But the shaft is undamaged because it popped off. There's our keyway. We will clean all this up. The key stayed in the flywheel, which is good. Sometimes it flies off. But so let's get to this operation. First, let's clean it up. Get a little wire toothbrush. Don't brush your teeth with it. Only brush rust. So I'm going to go over this whole thing, but not on camera. Okay, brushed it all off. I brushed the outside too, because there's very little clearance in between the magnet and the coil. I don't want any clods of rust messing up our coil. So let's take a caliper, nice long one here, and we're going to get our largest possible diameter of this circle here. So that's 6020, and here 6026. Try that again. Yeah, 6028. So we're going to write that on the flywheel. 6.028. That has to be the diameter of the outside of these nubs here. And so let's take a look at how big our present circle is. Six 166. Six 168. 6166. So let's say 6167. We'll take the difference between the two. This and the lathe. So the flywheel is 6.17 internal diameter, and our centering lugs, which are these little things here, are 6.08 outer diameter. So we're going to cut off 70 thousandths. So we take the difference, which is 139 thousandths, divide it by 2. So let's say it's 140. We're going to take off 70 thousandths. That way, these centering lugs here will fit inside the flywheel. Now you might say, I'm only giving a tiny bit of room for this to fit together, and you're right, but I'm gonna give myself 1 or 2 thousandths for inconsistencies in either measuring or machining. Well, that's a lot of run out, so we're gonna have to address that. We got it to 5 thousandths of run out, and the radial run out's very nice. Took me a while to get it there, but I'm there. I love this. Gear is running nice and true, right there. But those nubs, they're all over the place. Look at it right there. Right where the bit is. We're going to fix that. .031. .031. Let's take a look at that. We need 6.028, so we're going to run it in 5 thousandths and give us just a little bit of extra breathing room. 6.023. So that'll give us a few thousandths of breathing room inside that flywheel. Let's be clear. I cut down these centering nubs. And I cut it down to the interior diameter of our flywheel. Now this flywheel is kind of rough cast. It's not perfect. So I gave myself 5 thousandths of clearance. There is 0 lateral play. And that mates up there very nicely. Now I took the high spots off. Took the high spots off the flywheel. Excuse me, off of the ring gear, so it would sit nice and flush. Now we will pick a couple of spots to drill through the flywheel completely. Yeah, these look like good spots. Come out between the fins, and we can use the little kit with the nylocks, nuts, and the long screws, long bolts, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to bolt on this side, and since they'll be directly opposed from each other, it won't mess with the balance. Now let's take out the keyway. Set that aside. Okay. Maybe I should mark it. Mark the side for jumps. I'll be able to put it back together. Okay, 4 little indentations. There, right there. See how we did? So we marked one of the teeth with a little black mark. And we have a little black mark there. Come on. Take our screw, put in one. Two, 3, 4. Comes all the way through. And we've got some lock nuts to use. And I'll be right back after I bolt it together. There we go. Bolted on there nicely. It's a really nice fit. So let's see if it works on the engine. So I'll wire brush this off, and I'll put a tiny bit of anti-seize on there, just the tiniest bit. That'll make it easier to come off next time. And a little bit inside the flywheel. Okay, let's line this up. Keyway in there, and let's have a look. I accidentally turned it off. Making sure there's no interference between the ring gear and the block, and it's rotating freely. That's good. There's no keyway, so this just bolts right on. You give it 1 or 2 zaps. Okay, I just heard it seat. I'm going to rotate it, make sure it's free. Okay. Now I will take off recoil starter, take a look, make sure I'm still lined up, nothing's damaged. There's a certain sound when the flywheel is seated. There it is. I'm going to put this all back together. It's really just basic nuts and bolts, so I'm not going to show that. Let's open up the starter. Nice little starter with mounting kit. They give you, looks like a spacer, one nut, 2 washers. Comes with a bracket. Comes with the gear, overrunning clutch, 2 holes, and we're going to match that with the holes on the engine. Let's bolt this right up. Come on. There we are. Things are always difficult when someone's looking. So everybody close your eyes and it'll go on easier. There we are. Let me get a different socket. Well, they couldn't locate that bolt just a little bit farther away. Could they? Heck no. Ah. Well, that's a toughie. I'll fiddle with this and then start the video again. Okay, got the spark plug disconnected and grounded, because with magneto ignition it will spark as soon as this rotates. Got a starter button, jumper pack, starter. Power's on, ready? Here we go. Let's see if anything flies apart. All right. Looks like we're a little low on charge. But, so the starter works. Starter's lined up correctly. And nothing is interfering. Plenty of clearance with between the flywheel and the block. And we didn't shred our starter gear, because if we had the wrong clearance, that thing would get torn to pieces. Now when the engine starts, it'll kick this back. There's a little spring there just to help it. That's why it stayed engaged once. But I believe we have a successful starter installation. What I'll do is I will come over to this panel here and I will install a starter button. And I'll install 2 power leads that I can connect up to a battery or to a jumper pack. That way I connect the power, hit the starter, she fires. Well, I went to put the cover back on, and it seems as though I need to cut out a chunk of the cover for starter clearance. So, give me the tin snips. Okay, I got that cut out. Now, attach all these 4 little bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And attach the fuel pump. And we'll put the air cleaner back on. And we'll see if this runs. Like and subscribe, or I'll set this fella loose in your garage.